Here's something that sounds completely made up. Over the past few years, China has quietly poured more than $1 billion into glass. Not oil, not rare earth metals, not the next generation of computer chips themselves, glass. And because of that bet, some of the most powerful technology companies on the planet are now scrambling to catch up in a race many of them barely noticed had started. Now, before you assume this is about Windows or phone screens, stay with me, because the glass at the center of this story is nothing like anything you've ever held. It's engineered to a level of precision that would have looked like pure science fiction 20 years ago. It's thinner than a human hair, flatter than anything that occurs in nature, and it may turn out to be the single most important material in deciding who controls the next decade of computing power. And here's the strange part. This didn't sneak up on the industry because it was secret. The factories, the patent filings, the investment funds, all of it was public. It just wasn't being watched, because for years, almost everyone obsessed with the global chip race was staring at the exact same thing: transistors. Who could make them smaller? Who could print more of them? Who could reach the next generation first? While that loud, expensive conversation dominated every headline, a much quieter conversation was happening about the layer underneath the chip, the part that holds everything together. And it turns out that layer is now one of the most important battlegrounds in the entire industry. Let's get into why. To understand why glass suddenly matters so much, you first need to understand what it's replacing. Picture a modern city: skyscrapers, subway tunnels, power grids, fiber optic cables threading under every street. You can admire all of it: the architecture, the engineering, the sheer scale. But none of it functions if the ground beneath it shifts. The moment the foundation moves, everything built on top is compromised, no matter how brilliant the design above ground is. A shaky foundation is a problem that no amount of clever work upstairs can ever fully fix. Computer chips have a foundation too. It's called the substrate, the base layer the chip sits on. It holds everything in place, routes electrical signals between components, and helps manage the heat the chip generates while running. For roughly 50 years, these substrates have been made from engineered plastics and resins, layers of synthetic material bonded together into something that, if you could hold it, would resemble a very sophisticated, very thin piece of laminate. Not glamorous. Nobody makes a marketing campaign about it. But it's essential in the same way concrete footings are essential to a building. For most of chip history, plastic was perfectly adequate. Early chips were small, the demands were modest, and the substrate did its job without complaint. The trouble only started when chips became dramatically more complex. And the thing that made them so complex was artificial intelligence. The chips powering today's most advanced AI systems aren't single chips anymore. They're clusters of smaller chips, called chiplets, bundled together into one enormous, densely interconnected package. Engineers build them this way because it lets them combine different types of chips: memory, processing, communication, each optimized for its specific job, into a single unified system that performs far beyond what any one chip could manage alone. It's genuinely brilliant engineering, but it created a problem that gets worse as the systems grow. Some of these chiplet packages now stretch beyond 8,000 square millimeters. Sit with that for a second. That's roughly the size of your phone screen. Now imagine that entire surface packed with billions of microscopic connections, all exchanging data at the same time, at speeds measured in hundreds of gigabytes per second, while throwing off enough heat to shut down a laptop in seconds. At that scale, the substrate underneath stops being a passive holder and becomes one of the most critical performance variables in the whole system. Here's exactly where the trouble shows up. Plastic warps. When a plastic substrate heats up during operation, it expands a little. When the chip powers down and cools, it contracts. That cycle repeats thousands of times over the life of a chip. Each individual movement is almost impossibly small, shifts measured in fractions of a millimeter. But at the scale of a modern AI package, where the connections are so fine they'd make a strand of DNA look like a thick rope, those tiny shifts accumulate into a serious problem. Connections that were perfectly aligned during manufacturing begin to drift. Signals that should travel cleanly start to distort. Performance degrades in ways that are inconsistent and maddening to diagnose. And in the worst cases, connections break entirely and the chip simply fails. The most frustrating part is that you can't see any of it happening. There's no visible crack, no obvious moment of failure. The damage stays invisible right up until the instant it isn't. Engineers fought this for years with clever design tricks, tighter manufacturing tolerances, and ever more sophisticated quality control. Those approaches held up fine while chip packages stayed small and demands stayed low. But the next generation of AI chips is pushing into territory where those patches simply cannot hold anymore. The substrate material itself had to change. And the answer the industry landed on, after years of materials research, failed experiments, and manufacturing breakthroughs still catches people off guard when they hear it. Glass is such a counterintuitive answer that it's worth pausing on how strange it sounds. Engineers are talking about building the foundation for the world's most powerful AI systems, machines running at extreme speeds, under extreme heat, handling workloads worth billions of dollars, and the solution they're pointing to is, in essence, the same material that gets swept up after a kitchen accident. Except it really, truly is not the same material at all. The glass used in next-generation chip substrates is a precisely engineered product developed specifically for semiconductor packaging. It shares the same basic chemistry as window glass, the way a Formula One car shares the same basic idea as a bicycle. Technically related, practically a completely different thing. Here's the clearest way to understand what makes it special. Think about how plastic behaves under heat. It acts like a rubber band. Stretch it, heat it, cool it, and over time it loses its shape and fatigues. It becomes less predictable with every cycle. At small chip sizes, that's manageable. Engineers can design around it. Glass under the same conditions behaves more like a steel rod. You can heat it, cool it, run it through thousands of thermal cycles, load it with mechanical stress, and it barely moves. Its dimensional stability is dramatically better than any plastic currently used in chip packaging, and that stability has a direct, measurable payoff. Because the foundation doesn't drift, engineers can place electrical connections far closer together without worrying they'll fall out of alignment over the chip's lifetime. Here's the number that stops people cold. Glass substrates can support up to 10 times the interconnect density of today's best plastic substrates. Not 10% more, 10 times more. That isn't an upgrade. 10 times more connections in the same physical space means chips that can move data faster, with less energy lost in transit, across greater distances within the package, with cleaner signal quality than anything plastic can offer. And this matters more than it might seem, because the performance of an AI chip isn't determined only by the transistors inside it. It's also determined by how efficiently data moves between the components. If the connections between chiplets are slow, lossy, or limited, the chip underperforms no matter how advanced the transistors are. The substrate is the communication backbone of the entire package. Improve it dramatically, and you improve the whole system dramatically, without ever touching a single transistor. The thermal story reinforces this. Glass distributes heat in ways that make cooling easier as packages grow. Heat is one of the primary limits on any chip. Push it too hard, generate too much heat, and the chip throttles itself to avoid damage. Better heat management means running chips at peak performance for longer. And on signal quality, electrical signals traveling through glass face less interference and less loss than signals through plastic, a difference that compounds into real performance gaps at the data rates these chips run. So why didn't the industry switch to glass a decade ago? Because making it is extraordinarily hard. The glass has to be flat to tolerances invisible to any instrument outside a specialized lab. The holes drilled through it to create electrical pathways, called through-glass vias, are thinner than a human hair and must be placed with perfect precision. Drilling those holes without introducing microscopic cracks that could spread and cause a failure weeks later is a manufacturing challenge that has taken years of dedicated engineering just to approach. That difficulty isn't a footnote. It's the entire reason this story matters, because whoever solves the manufacturing problem at scale controls the next layer of the semiconductor supply chain. For most of the last decade, the dominant story in the global chip race came down to a single machine, the extreme ultraviolet lithography machine, made by a Dutch company called ASML. It's the only machine on Earth capable of printing transistors at the most advanced scales. Without it, you can't make a leading-edge chip. A whole system of export controls was constructed around keeping these machines out of certain countries. The logic seemed airtight. No advanced lithography machine, no advanced chips. What that framing missed is that it was optimized for one specific path to more powerful computing. And that path is not the only path. Advanced packaging, and the substrate layer specifically, is a completely different route. And it doesn't require an ASML machine. It requires materials, science, precision manufacturing, process engineering, capital, and patience, all things that can be developed independently without access to any export-controlled equipment. Seen that way, the decision to pour serious money into glass substrate technology isn't just a technical choice. It's a strategic repositioning toward a part of the supply chain where the rules of the game are fundamentally different. The investment has been substantial. China's national semiconductor funds have been steering capital toward advanced packaging since around 2023. Multiple companies, multiple programs, all targeting glass substrates, the total crossing $1 billion across factories, equipment, patents, and talent. None of it secret. All of it publicly registered. It just didn't generate much Western coverage. because the coverage was fixated on lithography and transistor nodes. The company that brings this strategy into sharpest focus is BOE. BOE is one of the world's largest makers of display technology. The precision glass panels inside hundreds of millions of smartphones, TVs, and monitors every year. Running that business requires large-scale precision glass infrastructure, specialized equipment, deep process knowledge, and engineering talent built up over decades. And here's what makes BOE's move into semiconductor-grade glass so logical. That infrastructure overlaps significantly with what substrate production requires. The equipment is related. The process knowledge transfers. The supply chains are already in place. For BOE, this isn't a reinvention. It's an extension of a capability they already built at massive scale for a different purpose. Their program targets production-capable output running into 2026 and accelerating from there. What makes this approach so effective is the timing. The transition from plastic to glass hasn't happened yet at volume. It's coming. The industry broadly agrees it's coming, but the factories producing glass substrates at scale for major AI chip customers don't fully exist yet. Whoever builds those factories first, solves the yield problems first, and qualifies with the major customers first will gain the kind of first-mover advantage that's almost impossible to dislodge in capital-intensive precision manufacturing. It's the same dynamic that made TSMC the dominant force in chip manufacturing for 2 decades. When TSMC built its lead in the 1990s, it looked incremental. By the time the world realized how dominant it had become, the lead had compounded into something structural. Glass substrates are sitting at an earlier point on that very same curve right now. When a shift this significant gains momentum, the rest of the industry does not stay still, and the response from the United States, South Korea, and Japan has been more serious than most outsiders realize. Intel has the longest track record in glass substrates of anyone in the world. Their program goes back over a decade, which in semiconductor terms is an eternity. In that time, they've built one of the deepest patent portfolios in the field and worked through manufacturing challenges most competitors haven't even hit yet. More recently, Intel has shifted toward licensing, sharing its technology with manufacturing partners rather than trying to control production directly, positioning itself as the intellectual property backbone of the emerging glass ecosystem. Even if others run the lines, Intel captures value from every line built on its technology. It's a bet on being the foundation of the foundation. Samsung is further along in production readiness than most observers appreciate. The company is running an active pilot line at its Sejong facility, not a research project, an actual pilot staffed with engineers hired specifically for glass substrate expertise. In late 2025, Samsung's components arm signed a materials partnership with a major Japanese specialty chemical company to secure the specialized glass the process requires. Their internal roadmap targets commercial-scale production around 2028, which would make Samsung one of the first volume suppliers to major AI chip customers. TSMC controls roughly 90% of the world's advanced AI chip packaging capacity today, a level of dominance that's genuinely hard to overstate. But TSMC understands better than anyone that dominance in this industry is never permanent. In 2024, it revived its glass substrate research program, a clear signal that this technology had graduated from interesting experiment to genuine strategic priority. When TSMC treats something as a priority, the whole industry takes notice. And Corning plays a different but equally important role. Most people know Corning from the protective glass on their phones, but its real expertise is specialty glass across fiber optics, pharmaceuticals, aerospace, and scientific instruments. That depth positions Corning as a potentially critical upstream supplier, the company producing the raw semiconductor-grade glass that substrate makers then process. Its involvement signals that the supply chain needed to support large-scale glass manufacturing is starting to form. And that matters enormously, because a production ecosystem is only as strong as its weakest link. What it all adds up to is a race that is genuinely undecided. No single company or country has locked up the glass substrate market. The infrastructure is being built simultaneously across multiple continents right now. But the window for establishing leadership isn't unlimited. Here's a pattern that shows up again and again in technology history. The most consequential shifts almost never look consequential while they're happening. They look small. They look technical. They look like something that belongs in a trade journal rather than a front-page story. And then, years later, everyone who missed it looks back and sees clearly what they were looking at. They just didn't recognize it at the time. The transition to glass substrates has exactly that quality. The chip race has been fought loudly and publicly for years. Export restrictions, government subsidies, front-page stories about transistor sizes and fab capacity. All of that is real and all of it matters. But it also created a kind of tunnel vision, an intense focus on one layer of the chip that made it easy to overlook what was happening in the layer just below. The substrate is being reinvented right now, and the consequences will ripple through everything that runs on advanced chips. AI training is the most immediate. The models behind today's AI tools are trained on enormous clusters of chips, running for weeks at a time, burning vast amounts of power. Better substrates let those clusters exchange data faster with less energy wasted, which means training runs finish sooner, model development accelerates, and more experiments happen per year. Data centers feel it too. If better substrates let them pack more computing power into the same floor space and run it more efficiently, the economics of AI deployment shift, costs come down, and the technology reaches further into more industries faster. And the cascade goes wider than AI. Drug discovery, climate modeling, materials research, scientific computing across every discipline, all of it runs faster when the foundation improves. These aren't hypothetical benefits. They follow mechanically from the performance gains glass unlocks. Here's the economic reality that makes this window so hard to recover from if you miss it. A single glass substrate production line costs somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion to build, and it takes years to qualify with customers, because chip designers have to validate that the substrate performs reliably at scale before committing their products to it. Whoever reaches volume production first enters that qualification process first. Whoever qualifies first gets the design wins. Whoever gets the design wins accumulates the production experience that pushes yields up and costs down. And there it is again, that compounding loop. Higher yields mean lower cost per unit, which means more competitive pricing, which means more market share, which means more volume, which means more experience, which means higher yields. The loop tightens with every year of production, and companies outside it don't just stay behind, they fall further behind every quarter. It's the exact dynamic that turned TSMC from a scrappy contract manufacturer in the 1980s into the irreplaceable backbone of the global chip industry by the 2000s. Not through any single dramatic breakthrough, but through consistent early investment in a capability that compounded relentlessly until no competitor could replicate it. The Silicon era, 50 years of progress driven by shrinking transistors, isn't ending, but it's being joined by something new. A second axis of improvement that doesn't depend on making transistors smaller at all. It depends on making the foundation underneath them dramatically better. And the material making that possible is one that's been around for thousands of years. Flat, precise, stable under heat, and invisible to the conversation until, suddenly, it wasn't. The AI era may well be built on glass, and the race to own that foundation is being decided in the years between now and 2028. Not in some distant policy debate, but right now, in factories being built, supply agreements being signed, and patent portfolios most people have never heard of. Here's my honest opinion for what it's worth. What strikes me most about this story isn't the glass itself. It's how easily the most important shift in an industry can hide in plain sight while everyone argues about something else. The entire world fixated on lithography machines and transistor nodes, built an enormous policy apparatus around controlling them, and meanwhile a parallel path to more powerful computing was quietly being developed in a completely different part of the supply chain, requiring none of the equipment everyone was watching. That's a genuinely fascinating lesson about how technological competition actually works. The decisive move is rarely the one everyone is staring at. I think the next few years are going to reshuffle the hierarchy of the chip industry more than most people expect, and glass substrates are a big reason why. The lead that exists today is real, but it is not locked in. This is still anyone's race, and the companies and countries that take it seriously now are the ones that will shape how it plays out. Here's the question I genuinely want your take on, and be honest, because people get heated about this one. Is it a good thing when one country pulls ahead in a technology this foundational? Or does the world actually work better when no single nation controls the infrastructure everything else depends on? There are real arguments on both sides. Competition drives faster innovation, but concentration creates dependence. Where do you land? Tell me in the comments. If you like these deep dives that get underneath the headlines and explain what's actually happening before the rest of the world catches on, subscribe to Eastern Engine and turn on notifications. We cover the materials, supply chains, and strategic moves that decide who leads the next decade of technology, and there's a lot more coming. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.